Hey everyone, welcome to the School of Sales podcast. Today I'm so excited to talk about one specific mindset around selling because absolutely no one is immune, no matter how successful you are at sales, to potentially possibly having a thought about feeling gross and uncomfortable sneak up on you. And this is one of the things we're going to be talking about in our upcoming masterclass happening on January the 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you register for that class. It is going to be potentially life-changing for your career. There's no replay, so make sure not only are you registered, but it is in your calendar and you are ready to show up live, because we're going to be talking about how to persuade for good and make money as a natural byproduct of your life and doing it without feeling gross. And today we're really going to zero in on this idea of feeling gross, and we really were awoken to this recently when Kat was in a room full of very high level successful salespeople who described selling as gross.
Yeah, I mean, I opened up this talk. It was a long workshop where we would be spending a lot of time together practicing and uncovering, how they could sell better in their businesses. And they were top salespeople for I think it's like a 10-figure business, so over $100 million business.
Yeah.
They were salespeople representing this company. And
Some making $1 million a year.
yes, and when I opened up, just to get on the same page, hey, how does everyone feel about sales? What is a word that comes to mind? And literally the word icky came out of half of their mouth. Icky, which means that there's just something dreadful about it. That you actually, okay, this is actually interesting. Icky, it affects how you see yourself, right? Because you're saying, I feel gross because I think I'm acting gross, which means I must be gross, right? There's something gross about me, my intention, my way I'm acting. So then I'm just not going to go there, right?
Wow.
And so all these top salespeople are telling me this. So it was totally worth starting the entire day by redefining what sales is, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
But that's why addressing this head on is so important, because there is a way to sell in a way that is not only natural feeling, but that like money is like just what happens. Like when you marry someone and you have a baby, it's like just what it is.
Yeah.
And it feels like the right thing to do, in fact. Like money can feel really like the combination of two good people coming together.
Yeah.
And
I think people will forever and not forever and always, but it seems like they are stuck in the way they perceive sales, like before the internet timing. And during that time, like the salespeople really did have all the information. They could hold certain cards close to their chest. They could only say certain things to get this other person to buy, and that does feel gross, 100%. In fact, like I think the saying that everyone would talk about when they'd go buy a car would be like, buyers beware. Buyers beware, because you never know what the salesperson doesn't tell you. Next thing you know, you're leaving the lot with a car that, breaks down 8 times because the salesperson didn't tell you something about it. But now, really the salesperson should be aware, because the buyer has so much information. They're in online communities. They are getting information from podcasts. They are learning about like their own health. Like they are getting the information in their own hands. And really the salesperson is the person that needs to be so direct and so clear so that they can be clear on how they help people and not be so hidden. But if they are, I Googled, like, why do salespeople feel so gross? And the first thing that popped up was, like, they feel like they can't be transparent. And I feel like that's rooted in, like, this mindset of, oh, they can't know, like, certain things. And what I want to say is, hey, they already know these certain things. It's your job to actually reveal them and help almost make context of everything and not talk about it.
100%. 100%. I'm trying to think of an example of what someone might not want to know. Like, I'm thinking about, let's say that you sell a workout program. Okay, it's not like a used car, it's a workout program. And maybe you don't want to talk about the fact, because someone told you not to talk about the fact that you actually have to work out 6 days a week instead of 3, like some other programs. Something like that. It's like, hey, don't talk about that because it might scare them away. So just hide it so you don't feel transparent. So you're like, well, how am I going to sell something that I'm not being totally clear about? When potentially the solution is, hey, you can actually be excited to lean forward, talk about the 6 days, and build value around, hey, this is why it's such good news that it's 6 days.
Yeah.
Because you actually have exercises that elongate your muscles, and you actually get to stretch, and you get to build balance and stuff, and flexibility in between your strength days. So that's actually really good news.
Yeah.
You never know unless you lean in, and
Yeah.
it's when you start resisting that the
Right.
grossness comes, which is a huge part of feeling gross.
Absolutely. And when you feel gross, like I always think about when I describe myself as feeling gross when I like don't shower that day, you know?
Uh-huh.
I like don't put makeup on. My clothes are like pajamas, and I go outside to get my mail. I see my neighbor that I love, and I love to talk to her usually. But if I feel gross, I run inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, like forget the mail. I just don't want to be seen. And so it's like if you have this mentality of feeling gross, you will hide things. And when you hide things, you're not like thinking about selling. When you hide your like almost sales process or your information or not being very direct about selling, you literally are not selling. You're sharing, you're being casual, you're like not talking about the price, you're not saying, hey, like I am a sales representative for this company, like I am like trying to help you in this specific way, which means you're not selling, you're not helping people. So it's just this cycle of thinking about being gross, hiding. People feel gross because they feel like they can't be transparent, but you're just doing, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy
Yes.
of making it hard for yourself.
Yeah, and the way Dennis Waitley says it in Psychology of Winning is you get what you think about most. You get what you think about most. And this came to life actually, it was last week or the week before. One of those same exact top salespeople from the workshop day sent me a message on Instagram. And she said, hey, I want to let you know my conversations are going really well. Look at what this prospect told me. She told me that she's actually afraid of failing with my program. And I said, hey, that is such good information. You should really create content around the fear of failure because so many other people are feeling the same way. So you actually get to scale this conversation. And she said, wow, you're so right. I'm actually a nurse by trade. And in nursing, there's something called the fear of falling phenomenon, where elderly people who maybe they've fallen, they are so afraid of falling again because there's detrimental effects. Dying could be like on the other side of a fall for an elderly
it's
person.
like the number one cause of death.
It is. Like the byproducts of falling like really can lead to death for elderly people. So once they fall, they have the fear of falling. It's like a new disease.
Or even just knowing that that's the number one cause of death without
Honestly,
falling probably
honestly.
gives them that fear.
Very true. Very true. So all of a sudden, when they have this fear of falling phenomenon in their life, they remain very still. They remain in their chair. And what happens when you stay really stagnant is you start to lose muscle. Muscle is not a stagnant thing any more than any other built skill or anything is. You start to lose muscle. When you lose muscle, you become a lot more, what is the word for not having balance?
I'm not sure.
Like imbalanced.
Yeah.
And so then you're more likely to fall. You're more fragile.
your
Your bones
bones,
aren't strong
yeah.
enough. Your frame is not strong. So then the very thing that they were afraid of, they're more likely to get because they were still.
And because they're resisting it.
They're resisting what it takes to avoid that failure or falling, which is building strength, which is, yes, it might be taking a risk, but is it? I think it's way more risky to stay still.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that we say all the time is you're never still. You're either growing or you're not.
That's right.
It's either growing or dying.
Yeah.
And for the elderly people, it might be muscle, for all of us actually. But
Yeah.
in business, it's either your sales skills,
Yeah.
your ability to persuade for good are either growing or they're not.
That's right.
And it's when you resist that you actually get what you're thinking about most, which is when you feel gross, then you're not even coming off professional.
Right.
And then you see yourself as gross doing that too.
Man.
So you get what
And
you're
like
afraid
let's just reverse the script for a second back to this fear of falling.
of.
instead of thinking I'm scared of falling, if they thought I'm going to be stronger, they walked every day. They did resistance training. They might keep their mind sharp with crossword puzzles. They thought like I can recover from anything, even if I do fall. Think about the different results that
Yes.
brings of instead of fearing it, leaning into it. And this is for anything in your life. Like if you feel resistance towards anything, that's probably a red flag of like, man, that's the very thing to lean into to overcome it.
Totally is.
And so with sales and feeling gross, if like you avoid sales, which, that is what 40% of your life is sales, whether you like it or not, leaning in is what makes you stronger instead of resisting it. You can't get away from it.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time. And just like with, we're talking about muscles right now. So when you feel the burn of resistance, because you're looking at the obstacle, you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to build the muscle, or I'm going to learn how to sell, and you feel that it's uncomfortable, that is your very sign to continue going, because your ability to overcome the fall or the failure. I think it's really cool how much the resistance can lead to resilience, and you can actually bounce back much faster from a objection or someone's, hey, no, like I'm not going to buy this, I'm never going to buy this, I bought something else. Like you can bounce back so much faster with that, but you first have to face it.
That's right.
You have to face the resistance.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I hope that this is encouraging for you to really lean in and kind of just like be the person that's willing to like see your neighbor out in the street, so to speak, and be like, I'm in a position to speak to them in a way that is confident and collective and professional, figuratively, physically, like literally like putting yourself together to feel like good. That's going to be reflected in your sales conversations, and also leaning into sales skills and looking for ways to do it. And I think honestly, one of the best ways to like combat feeling gross is being direct. And Shelby Rose, she's one of our students, she always just talks about like being not embarrassed of your business, not being embarrassed to sell, but being overcompensate, honestly, and being overly direct, and people take you way more seriously, and you become so much more effective as well.
100%. So you could essentially, not only in your real life, have this like roll down the window mentality where you feel at all times like opportunity is everywhere. You actually want to roll down the window and say, hey, talk to somebody and invite them into the conversation, because you're just facing it head on. And you end up, because your shoulders were back, you end up not only becoming more confident, you get to place confidence in someone else. And so it just is a really cool
This recently
overflow.
Recently happened to me. A few months ago, I had met a new neighbor, and I had gotten dressed to go teach School of Sales. So I was dressed. I just got my colors done, so I was wearing the right colors. I had the right lipstick on. I had some glasses. Like, I was just feeling very good. And I actually saw this neighbor that I had just met. She was walking her dog that morning. And I literally stopped and waited for her, and I rolled down my window to say, good morning. I said, good morning, Mary. It's so good to see you. Do you remember me? I'm Macy. We met at the pool the other. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she saw me. She was like, you like look so cute. What do you do? Which was like an open the door for the opportunity to be able to say like, this is what I do, like whatever. And I just was like, wow, it felt so good to be in a position where I was like, I am in a place like mentally, emotionally, and physically to like want to roll down my window, communicate with people, build relationships. And honestly, if I'd felt any other way, I probably would have avoided it and, skirted right real quick to get away from it. And I definitely want to be the person who's ready to roll down my window at any time. I know you do
100%. And so like outward appearance is a really easy example of, okay, well, you looked like you felt good, you looked good, of course you did that. There's a way that is a part of who you are, no matter what you're dressed like. I do encourage that you put on like your most professional outward appearance too, honestly. But so that you feel equipped. Kelly Dooley is such an example. She's one of our students who you would label as the introvert of introverts. She's so sweet and just listens and is, she's never gonna like come out and like be the loudest in the room by any means. And this girl is a new selling machine. And she describes her ability to sell. Not only is she selling in her sales role now, after being in the doctor's office. She was in physical therapy as like an assistant or something, and now she is selling her butt off because she can listen. She sees opportunity everywhere. It's seeing opportunity, being able to, quote, roll down your window and take action with it. Because it's a person on the other side of that. It is not a credit card. It is a person. And you get to connect and help someone see like the value that they have in themselves, because people need to see that and feel that just like you do. And honestly, that is what School of Sales equips you to do, is to see opportunity everywhere and to execute it, execute on it, and to get results from it, which is a huge gift for everyone in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. if this resonated with you at all and you're kind of marinating on it and you're like, man, I feel like I could probably work on the way I'm thinking, please come to this masterclass happening January the 23rd, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And there's going to be a few really good new points and new demonstrations of things we've never taught before just for you. I'm telling you, this information, like, I don't say this lightly, could impact so much of your life. I know for me personally, I'll watch, 3 hours worth of content to get one little nugget that has changed the way I thought, which changes the results that I have. And I really believe that this content, this hour class, could be just that for you. So make sure it's in your calendar. You're there live, register. Everything will be in the show notes below, and we cannot wait to see you there.